Whoa, can you guys hear that when that lady says recording in progress?
Yeah.
I don't know where she came from. She's new, but I don't know that I can be bothered to go in and figure out how to turn her off. Anyways, happy Friday, everybody. Lisa, so nice to have you here with us. Show us your beautiful face anytime you feel like it, or just listen in the back, whatever you like. And Dale, how's it going? Oh, you're muted.
Okay, I muted myself. I'm not sure how, but I'm here now.
Okay, great. Good to see you all. You know, I was just thinking to myself sometimes, people get busy Friday mornings as we grow our Friday coffees. It's going to be interesting to see, you know, what kind of problems we're solving and logging in with, if we want something kind of group thought through or just to say hi. But man, I got to tell you, I just love the hello aspect of it. And this comes after I just told my family, sorry for not making Thursday night family Zoom. I'm zoomed out. I can't do Zoom anymore. But then I was excited to Zoom with you guys. So what does that say about me as a human?
That's funny.
Anyway, hi, Jen.
Hi, good morning. I have to apologize in advance. They are cutting down an 80-foot tall spruce tree next door. We've been watching it all morning because it literally sits like between the two fences and leans against both of our houses effectively. So it is the craziest operation. But I was on a call earlier today and people were like, there are men in your yard. I'm like, yeah, they're supposed to be there. So you'll hear background noise and you'll see them doing all sorts of crazy stuff back there. But anyways, I look forward to this all week long, is the honest truth, because there are no expectations from this call other than connecting and chatting about what's going on in the digital marketing world or each other's worlds or businesses. And I absolutely love that.
Me too. I don't have to bring a deck and like pretend that people are interested in it. Oh man.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no kidding. I actually made a slide deck this week that I had 17 shiny slides and we got through 5 of them. I was like, those other 12 are really a waste of time.
No, what happened? How come?
Oh, it was a presentation to a sales team, and I don't know how many of you have ever worked with sales teams. They can be challenging at the best of times. And so, yeah, they kind of derailed a lot of our meeting, wanting to know why we wanted them to do their jobs.
That's awesome.
I know.
Okay, does anyone have, first of all, any challenges or burning things they want to talk about? I was just mentioning a very cool new app that I've fallen in love with in the last hour here that I wish I'd known about sooner. But before that, anything that anyone wants to bring up that we can help hash through?
Hi,
Lisa. Lisa, remind us where you're from again, if you don't mind. What's your company?
Hi, Jennifer. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Lighting's awful. I'll put myself in the corner. So I'm in High River, and I used to own the hub in High River and then closed it. Pandemic, all that garbage.
Across the box, Kelly.
Across
the box.
Oh,
for me.
Close to her heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. My brother just closed his CrossFit box as well. I'm so sorry to hear that. So the hub was a CrossFit gym.
You know,
an amazing one.
No, not really. So we were more like a functional training, modeled off of like a national training center type space, if you will. CrossFit, of course, would have thrived in that environment. But yeah, honestly, now 3 lockdowns later, I think it was the best decision ever to close it. So I went back to doing graphic design and making that my full-time gig again, basically. So
Lisa has an amazing athletic background that she should tell us about.
Yeah, your name is very familiar.
I hate talking about it.
Oh my God, you're crazy. No, you should be so proud of this.
I'm proud, but I guess I don't like talking about myself, so that's why. So yeah, I grew up in Nanton, played every single sport I possibly could, and then went on to SAIT and played volleyball and swam for them. So I actually think at that time I was the only double sport athlete that they had. But swimming was like super easy, so whatever. And then From there, I went and competed internationally for bobsled.
Oh my
So
God.
did that for 12 years. Yeah.
Cool. And did that out
That's
of
the short story.
That's a short story. Yes. Oh, isn't sport a layered life?
Yeah.
That's so cool. You were
Totally.
training out of Winsport and with Bobsled Canada?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so I was really and truly, I trained at COP before it became Winsport, and before they had their giant facility and everything. So we were in the basement of like the 1986 building that they built to be the dormitories for the athletes, and that's pretty much where, like, you know, all of my education and whatnot, that in terms of sport and training, that's where the bulk of it all came from, and then evolved into I worked with the sales team doing marketing for them, and it drove me crazy that on like my 90th day with them, I quit. And I was like, we can't do this anymore. And it went into becoming a personal trainer. And then High River never had a type of gym that I felt comfortable in or wanted to be in. So I took the leap and built the hub. And I mean, it was great and awesome. And then, you know, pandemic aside, we'd still be there. But I just didn't trust the government in the first lockdown. Everything that they said, I mean, things shifted. We all experienced it. And I was like, you guys are going to do this again. And I wasn't willing to take that risk. Plus I had, well, I still have a little kid, of which we didn't know what school was going to do. So there was no way I was going to be able to homeschool her and run a business if they didn't open up the school system in September. So we had to make some big choices.
Yeah. Holy. Such an amazing story, but one that's also so familiar, I think, to so many people. But good on you. Oh, okay, so tell us now about the return to graphic design, or is this what you're trained in, and or are just picking up more now?
So this is what I'm trained in. I went to SAIT and took digital graphics communications. It was them bridging at that time the print management into the digital side, because we were right at that shift of everything. So I learned Quark Express as well as InDesign and everything. So we got to, you know, put everything together, which is kind of cool. And then did that for, I don't even know how many years I did graphic design work, but I've worked for a toy distribution company, did all their packaging, switched out the American language, made it bilingual, made everything meet all their standards, worked with their international printers for that. Magazine ads, motocross company, watches, sandals, who else? And then I went and worked for a home building company in Calgary. Did all of their point of sale stuff and marketing, and then ended up going and working for UFC and SAIT under the umbrella of Xerox. And it's just like Xerox had a contract with those two institutions to be able to then deliver their digital graphic design elements to the institutions as well. I'm sure it was, you buy 600 Xerox printers and we'll put this into your business for super cheap, right? So I'm sure that's how it worked out for them. So I did lots of stuff for SAIT, especially all their marketing, all their donor reports, a whole bunch of that stuff. And then we moved to High River, and then I worked for a sales company here in High River, and it didn't align with me, I guess, as well, but it was like they hired me saying, we don't know what we're doing. We need someone who knows what they're doing. So they hired me. And then within 3 weeks, it was one guy. And then it grew to a few more being like, so this is what you need to do. And they're trying to tell me how to do my job. And I'm like, okay, you hired me saying you don't know what you're doing. So how come you're now turning around and telling me I'm not doing it right? And so, yeah, I had enough, and I just couldn't be there anymore. So I left. So
cool. So, wow. And the work you're doing now is then contract work. What kind of, what are you finding companies need the most in graphic design today?
You know, it's been interesting. I mean, we still need a lot of the traditional print stuff, and people forget about that. And then I'm finding a lot of times it's like, well, take this that was made for digital and just turn it into a print item. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way, but okay, we'll do what we can. But for me, it's been a hard shift being able to not a hard shift, but a good learning curve of going from, I'm so, what's the word? I'm so like proficient at the print design, is static, get the message across in one image, one pamphlet, one piece of paper, whatever it may be. And then, but to try and shift it to the digital side where the technical aspect is exactly the same. However, it's dynamic. So it needs to be in flow. It needs to have a complete flowing story, and it's multiple images. And it's just shifting that from like, you know, here's my trifold brochure, but now each little panel is going to be its own element rather than one complete entity. So it's just shifting the brain. That for me, that's the biggest challenge. And the companies I'm working for now, they are in primarily just pushing their digital online platform. They're not really doing much for in-person type stuff. I mean, because most of their business has completely veered away from client-facing situations at this point. So we'll see if it shifts back in, but for now it's all online marketing.
Yeah, well, and I find it so interesting too. I hope you don't mind me saying this. And I once, way back, it was actually 2012, in one of our very first social summit marketing conferences. I had a graphic designer just rail into me as I was presenting Canva, and I was showing people DIY graphic design tools, and she was so offended that I was showing clip art to people. And I was like, all right, but you're okay with me showing all the hacks on how to hack a video really easily on your phone, or how to do like the fastest publishing kind of, you know, automation that you can, or what she didn't like, and or stock photo sites, but it was threatening to her, I suppose. But anyway, my point is that I find on the receiving end of so many small business requests for graphic design that is disposable is not the right word, but just so fast and such voluminous amounts where, like, to be honest, if I was to point at 50 of the small businesses in my circle, or our social school hub of a lot of successful growing, you know, startups and scale ups, one of 50 might be doing a print brochure right now, or a trifold, or a billboard, or a TV campaign. And the rest just need accessible graphics. That this is like my way of saying, I'm addicted to Canva. I think so many people are, because they need to also step in and occasionally like rip out their own quick blog graphic or story graphic, because they're the ones still at the heart of it, but they need a graphic designer who's willing to do that. And I've had this conversation with a few graphic designers that say, no, I'm not using Canva. It's got to be InDesign. It's got to be Photoshop, which is fine. But I wondered what your take on that is, as I'm just fully sounding like a, you know, control freak who also needs access to the files. But I'm trying to say that I think it's the evolution of graphic design for a lot of businesses that need some stake in it, or ability to touch it too.
Yeah. I'm finding, so it's kind of been a happy little situation. I'm now in essence helping a person who has relied on Canva for the whole shift of their company. And it's a large company. Like I don't know, they profited over $1 million last year on like just online educational sales. And so they're doing well, but she was now hitting a point where she's just full of overwhelm. And for me, it's like, okay, you need to, at the very least, allow me to build you that templated standard background, but we need like 10 of them, so that it's not the same shit all the time. Yeah. And then you can go in, put it in Canva, and then build out what you need to on the fly. Yeah. But let me do the foundational stuff for you, so that then when you're told they need something yesterday, you can just do it.
And they'll probably still come back to you. Like, I think it's twofold still. Like, I think that there are, and we see it with obviously new business launches, but even the companies now that are making these major pivots and they need to have a bit of an even visual rebrand. They'll come forward and say, okay, I need somebody to set the tone. So give me everything that I need, exactly what you're saying, Lisa, those foundational pieces. And then I can take it from there, because I know Canva, because Canva's easy. But then they ultimately come back and they say exactly that same thing. I'm full of overwhelm. I didn't realize just how many graphics I needed to digital digitally market my business. So if you could go ahead and actually just create those going forward, that'd be great. So I think that sometimes that foundational piece is almost like the bait that gets the recurring work, right? And if you do a good job of it, clients they don't want to spend their time in the weeds of creating graphics that are definitely good enough. And I say this to Kelly all the time because Kelly undersells herself. She's an unbelievable untrained designer. I am a very mediocre designer. Canva can make most people look pretty darn good. But I do feel like there's like a threshold to my abilities that I tap out at, and I'm like, designer, I need a designer.
As a designer, I feel like there's a visual pain point as a designer, because we can identify, like, we've all played with Canva. Like, if someone tells you as a designer that they haven't played with Canva or Designer or the other knockoffs of Canva, they're lying. They've tried it. And we all recognize, our brains are built that way, that we see a templated layout, be it the text, the fancy little like handwritten artwork scrolls kind of thing. We're like, oh, that's pre-made. That's not creative. That's pre-made. Saw that with, you know, I don't know, Joe Blow shoes. They use the exact same template. Like, it's that little element of individuality that is missing when people start relying heavily on Canva. And I think that's where the designer and even yourselves need, like, that's where we're important, is we get to come in here and say, okay, this is how you use this service, because even your designer is not going to deliver in the timeline that you require for some stuff. But this is how you're going to work with a designer who can say, well, we can take this look, but we can make it your own as well, so that it won't resemble anybody else's. And then you won't get lost in the weeds. And I think that's the problem, is people are getting lost in the weeds now because it's so overused. Yeah. I mean, I understand completely. I used it for my own business, and I'm a designer, but I was like, I need to put something quick, so let's just do this. And but you still get lost in the weeds if you're following the pre-formatted, pre-made templates. Or some people, unfortunately, do get crazy with the clip art. And then you're like, oh, okay, that's like Word all over again.
Yes. No, I totally hear you. I think I equate it to, as someone who tries to walk the line between, customized, brand heavy, like really beautiful, stuff that's going to be worth your time and worth stopping scrolling right by, and just something that people fall in love with and feel drawn to, but also that is realistic and sustainable and affordable. And that's where, when a designer or photographer is less willing to let the business be part of the process or have access to the files to make a quick tweak. We had a graphic designer in one of our classes, and she had a big sales team, and she's like, I set all the files up in Canva so the sales team can go in and recreate their own. And it's been a dream, because she's like, we have 50 salespeople. She was in real estate. She's like, but if they have my guidance and it's using a tool that they're using, then it really works well. She's like, I don't love Canva, but it certainly does the job now. And it's my godsend, because they know how to quickly edit and download the file from there. They could never do that in InDesign. And I'm the first to say that. I'm like an Adobe Illustrator InDesign dropout, and I've tried to learn it several times. I'm like, I don't need this level of understanding. I don't want to make like new palettes and, whatever it is. I don't need that. I just need this dimension in this file at this resolution for this format, or platform. And I equate it to being like the pushback that I used to feel a lot from people, developers, and I don't mean to slag anyone here, because I tend to do this by accident. I once wrote about in the newspaper the cost of photography, and I was not popular. There's still a very angry blog about my article. But anyway, my point was, like, how come we're not making it more accessible, or understanding that those $100,000 photography contracts don't really exist anymore? And there's so much work to be had for people that can say, hey, business, I know what you need, and I'm going to work to build this package for you, or this like recurring service, or on this platform, instead of saying, I can't believe you're using Squarespace. It's such a garbage templated website. And the customer's like, well, I can't afford and don't want a custom built HTML site. Work with me here, So it's not all about Canva by any means, but I think it's about just I find it interesting to be sitting on this fence between the clients, and most of them being small businesses that are pivoting, who need something. And then you've got professionals who are kind of still in a lot of industries fighting that, you know?
Well, and seriously, can we talk about the volume of content that we have to create today as compared to even a decade ago?
Yes.
I mean, really, imagine this. You created your brochure a decade ago, or maybe it was a little bit more than, but you created your brochure and that had a shelf life of like 6 months. Today, you create a piece of content and it has a shelf life of 24 hours. If you're lucky. So we create so much more content than ever before. Of course we need help. Of course we need hacks.
Yeah.
And I don't care whether you're a copywriter, a photographer, a designer, you create digital ads, whatever it is that you do SEO, it's the same formula. We need high volume and we need to have ways to produce more content more quickly. And I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect content, but it needs to be passable.
Yeah.
So those tools make our content, our high volume content, passable.
Yeah.
I think too, if you're as a designer and you're working with a client, if you have a way of setting up so that they're empowered to do some of it on their own, they start to respect what you do for them a little bit further as well. And they have a greater understanding of like, okay, that's why you charge me this much time for this to be done. And I never knew it took so long to find the perfect photo or whatever the case may be, right? And it's nice in that sense because they start to have a little bit of a greater awareness. And I mean, of course, it depends on the personality of the person you're working with too. Some of them be like, oh, I figured it out. I don't need you anymore. You don't want those ones anyways. So
yes, exactly. And I think actually that's what our friend Tyler Babby out in Saskatoon often says, because he does a lot of, well, he's a social media consultant and he does great photography, videography work. And a lot in his market, there's actually a school that pumps through a lot of small businesses through their certification program. And he's like, then they come back to me with a greater appreciation for what it takes. And I think that's just it. It's like, you know, with any employee, any contractor, saying to them, like, where do you excel? Where do you shine? We've talked about this before in our Friday coffees. And then here's what I really need or what is missing, and being able to allow that creativity. Because there's nothing worse than taking on a contract when you're dictated exactly what it's got to look like either. You're like, why am I here? What if you know this so well, then go do it yourself. But yeah, I think it is like new conversations that need to be had in client contractor relationships, or even graphic design employee relationships, that are like, here's the volume, here's the frequency, here's the budget that we've got. How do we work together to make this happen? And here's the tool that we would really like you to work on. Are you okay with that? I don't know if that's dictating too much, but anyway. Hi, Jake.
Hi, Kelly. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Hello, Sheena. And Melissa, I think, was driving in her car there. We're just, you know, diving into the graphic design industry here, discussing costs and ideal relationships and all of that.
I'm home.
Amazing. I was also just saying, you guys, that I discovered Animoto today. Has anyone ever worked on Animoto as a video tool? A few people in our Banff cohort yesterday brought it up, and they all started chiming in that they all love it. These business owners in Banff. I'm going to screen share this thing so we can discover it together, if that's cool. And I went straight to pricing because I just gave up my plan for actually, let me just make this bigger. Promo.com. Promo is like Magisto or any of those ones that have a, yeah, you can make GIFs, you can make animations, kind of sales videos. We've talked about this a little bit with you, Jake, because you're making a lot of sales videos for your paid campaigns, but this guy was really cool. I just $16 a month. I'm like, yes, promo.com was $50 US a month. And same with Magisto. Oh, look at that, little sale. But anyway, speaking of graphics and design hacks, if we're going to call them that, but let's instead say it's, I don't know, creative tools that make our lives easier that we hand off to our designer and say, I need 5 of these. This one looked really, really cool. Any thoughts?
Super cool.
Oh, I love it. Make your first video. Anyone? Haley, are you using any video creation tools? Because you're doing, obviously, yeah.
I use Mojo.
Mojo.
It's on my phone. It's an app. I don't know if there's a desktop. It might be.
Okay, Mojo app. Yeah, that's the trouble I find is that.
Yeah, that's the one.
There's so many cool apps that do things that the desktop versions don't, or they don't even exist.
Mm-hmm.
Like the other day I shot something in, because I wanted to do an IGTV video that had my slide deck below it so that I could like split the screen between my face, or at least just have a instructor's face in the top corner, but then go through I really needed some visual tools to show people how to build their Instagram shop. That was the theme. And so I was toggling between like slides and the actual Facebook business suite app to show them where to build their store. But I couldn't just do it as a video from my phone because I needed to do a few other, I wanted to show them like the 7 steps as I went. Anyway, I was really struggling to figure out how to do it. So I finally used MixCam, which is like a super easy app, and it splits your screen with your 2 cameras. So forward facing camera and then a rear facing camera. But then it exported it for me, or it saved it for me as a QuickTime file, and I couldn't upload it onto IGTV because it wasn't an MP4. So then I'm dragging it to my desktop, and all of my paid video transcript or like transfer services are on my desktop. It's just like sometimes, you know, it's those things that really slow you down and make you just kind of, why do I bother?
It's so hard to like, there aren't many apps that stand the test of time anymore too, because there's like every week there's something new and better. Like, don't you find that you're constantly purging? Like, I'm just always searching for like, what are the top apps for creating stories this week, or right? So it's funny, you have to be really good at your game to have a long shelf life.
Yeah.
I think I told you about this one, Kelly, but I recently discovered one. I think it's called StoryArt.
Oh, neat.
That I quite like.
And it's just for stories?
Yeah, well, you can create all sorts of social media content on it, but it's yeah, StoryArt app, I think. That might be it. Yeah, that looks like it.
Oh, for Google Play.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's the other issue.
Indeed.
Anyway, we've been talking a lot as well about batching content. Haley and I have big plans for some batching, and Jen as well. But just, you know, kind of actually walking the talk on like the month in advance content creation and kind of quarterly mapping and all of those things. And if you are going to do any kind of video ads in particular, but maybe it's for Reels as well. Instagram Reels, of course, getting such prominence, and everybody, even Instagram itself, saying you should be doing 7 Reels a week. As I mentioned, was that leaked document that came out that's who they're really rewarding as influencers and creators. But what I love about that is that you can use a pre-existing video that you've created in promo.com, Magisto, StoryArt, whatever you're doing, and just have it saved on your photo reel in your phone, and then upload a pre-made edited photo or video that's got some text coming across or some calls to action or whatever it is, without having to like wrestle through Reels and creating it.
And then you can add more to it once you've got it in there, right? Because sometimes those apps don't have everything you need, but you know Instagram can get you like the last 10%.
Yeah,
it gets you most of the way, and then you can do that like from wherever so easily without having to worry about, okay, well, what if it's not perfect or I don't finish it? Like, can I save it? It's perfect. I love that way of kind of getting it most of the way there and then pulling it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was telling Kelly in yesterday's meeting, was it yesterday or the day before?
I don't know.
That Tanya had sent me a video that was 45 seconds. So it was too long for a reel, but too short for an IGTV. So I went into InShot and I chopped it, so it still had that reel effect. And then it did like so well. I was like, wow. So not all of the video got put in, but I was able to chop it down and it looked like a reel, even though that wasn't the intention.
That's awesome. Haley, tell us what InShot is compared to what you're saying StoryArt does.
Yeah, so the Mojo, the one that I use
Mojo,
yeah, for stories. So, you know, if we have like a price reduction, typically I'll do like an advertisement on the story for that so that they can swipe up. And then InShot allows me to take a bunch of different videos, compile them, add music, chop it, add text. And then it's also in that story.
That's awesome.
Story mode. Yeah.
I find too, it's so much easier in InShot to lay the music than it is in Instagram. And on Instagram, like they're getting better, like they're adding more music, but to like time the segment of music you want with the segment of video you want is really cumbersome within Instagram, I find. Whereas in InShot, it's seamless and easy.
Yeah, you can even bring your own music over into it, which is awesome.
Does anyone relate to the idea, if you were to put your business owner hat on or your client's hat on, that photo editing, video editing or creation, and let's say also graphic design is maybe one of the most time-consuming pieces of the puzzle? Yes. Like
100%. Again, because we're not photographers, videographers, and graphic designers for the most part.
Totally.
Yeah. but we have to be able to do some of that again because of the volume of content.
Or convey what you want and then outsource it. But for me, it's the hardest. It's the most, just unbelievably time consuming. I need to quit.
You know, maybe I'm not doing things right, but my videos on Instagram and Facebook are typically less than 2 minutes long, and it's one-shot deals.
Awesome.
I have somebody hold my phone, I talk about what I'm going to talk about, and it's a one-shot, it's a one-take deal. Sometimes there's wind noise, sometimes there's background music, sometimes there's the cameraman shivering. Back when we were a little colder, the cameraman would shiver, and we had to warm up the cameraman before we would retake it. Those ones took about 7 or 8 takes. But for the most part now I'm doing stuff in one take. So am I doing it wrong? Should I be spending 20 minutes on a video?
It's practice, Dale. Like my guess is your confidence has grown and that it wasn't one take when you first started. Am I right? Hell
no.
I would also say, Dale, what's your business?
I do Car Guy Auto Search. I'm starting a website where it's going to be like a vehicle finding service where you search for what you want to find. And she just, it's just put up there for everybody. I'm trying to build a classified section where you can advertise your vehicle and other people can come see it and that kind of thing. So, awesome. And I do a Tech Tip Tuesday on Instagram and Facebook where I give basic information. 2 weeks ago, we did alignments. This week was why doesn't your paint match between the bumper and the body? And I've a couple of times now I've gotten some friends of mine involved and drugged them into the picture, as it were. One guy doing wipers, one guy doing paint. I mean, I know the answers, but sometimes it's good. In my mind anyway, to have someone with a different view, a different perspective, and somebody that is recognized as a professional in that area, because not everybody knows that I'm an auto body tech.
So then, knowing that, Dale, I would rather watch a one-shot deal video than something that's been scripted, edited, worked through, and looks too clean. Because in reality, if I'm going to screw up, and you might have troubles too while you're filming it, but it helps create that human connection too. So it's not perfect, right? So I think I would rather watch a one-shot deal for something like that. Even when I was doing videos for the Hub, I would do one-shot deal. I'm like, I'm not editing it. This is me. And if I make a mistake, it's because I'm human. And that's important to see too.
And like, I'll be the first one to admit, a lot of them are rough. The paint one, we had the wind noise in the background. We had the owner's daughter doing the filming, and it was literally 5 minutes. It was less than 5 minutes and we were done. And half the time I'm deciding Tuesday morning what I'm going to do. So
I love that. I would say, and I'd love to hear everybody's takes, because Jen, Haley, Jake, Lisa, probably Melissa too, and she just having experience with clients or themselves, knowing when and where it makes sense to have captions, intro screens, extras, or whether or not you guys think that's worthwhile. Though I would say if you're keeping it raw, Dale, which by all means, you've got the personality and the look and the subject matter that it works, I think. But I would say the sound piece is most important, because people don't have time for no light, no sound. So that's where even just a little remote mic or a 6-footer that you buy for 30 bucks on Amazon, that's got the little like lav clip, and then it connects wired to your phone, is pretty easy to find. I've got a couple that have splitters. But again, that's totally, no, it's not mandatory, but if you're saying that the sound is what's a hindrance, then that's something that you can.
Where do I find something like that? Because that's I've been wondering that. So
I hate to direct you to Amazon, but to be honest, it's just the easiest place to find lots of selection for those types of tools.
And all the reviews, and it's cheap and you get it fast, and it's good enough for what you're doing.
We actually have a Social School Amazon store. I'm going to send you the link, or I'll put the link in the chat right now, and our favorites are in there. But do you guys have any other suggestions for when and how a client should go, like switch to doing a little bit more of a polish or post-production of any kind?
I think the second you're showing it publicly outside of social media. So let's say that it's going to live resident on your website, or it's going to be shown at a trade show or some sort of event, then you want a bit more spit and polish. And I would also suggest that when we're creating video, especially for IGTV, and it's going to be longer, especially if it's educational, Dale, that as soon as you're getting past that 1 minute mark, getting the freebie, not perfect transcription services makes sense, because here's what happens is we know that people have short attention spans, but if they're interested in what you're doing, they're going to multitask. So they're going to continue working while listening or reading. So if you have those words scrolling, you might still have them for a little bit longer if your videos say longer than a minute.
Now, the one thing that I've tried to make a practice is that my social media accounts are strictly on my phone. I'm trying to keep my computer cleansed of all social media so that it doesn't get cluttered up with stuff, shall we say. So and my phone is probably 3 years old. So I may have to upgrade my phone a little bit because it's getting pretty full with pictures and videos and stuff like that. But yeah, that's and on the website, the welcome video that I have on the website was done with a little bit of spit and polish. My wife showed me how to work it, and I started playing in I believe it was Roxio. For video editing, I had a song, an intro song, and an outro from a friend of mine up north, and so that one, yeah, that one has a little bit more polish. But I did all the recording myself. I set up the camera, did a take, read more of the script, did a take, and so yeah, that one, because it is a little bit more public, has more polish. But my Tuesday ones are usually pretty raw, and I do a new follower Friday as well, which also is very raw. I just do a selfie video and I walk around my shop and welcome the new followers on Instagram. Which one of my followers said, you know what, I've never seen that done. That's a new one. So they appreciated the shout out. So trying to be creative.
Good for you. I'd love to hear from Melissa. What are you thinking here? I'm just on your website admiring it, my friend. I'm going to show everybody because we haven't talked enough about your pivot. And are you doing videos? What's happening? Everyone? Melissa? Riendo?
Yeah, I pivoted this summer when I left my tourism job. Just with the COVID shift, it just wasn't working for me. So I decided to go out on my own and do my own thing. And, you know, I just listened in here as I was driving back from an appointment, but definitely I come from more of a print background, which has been a struggle because it's so digital and reels and everybody wants everything right now. So these are the clients I'm working with right now. And Lightform Chairs and LF Gaming, they do some really nice polished videos with VEC Labs. Beautiful videos. So that's a product where, you know, these are $2,000 custom ergonomic chairs. So they need those really nice polished videos. They have a girl doing their social media. Actually, that girl that's in the photo does their social media.
Cool.
But I've been working with them more on their, you know, trying to do more collaboration projects. We did a home office makeover giveaway, and we worked with some local companies to put that together. I like doing more of the media planning, the event planning, you know, just trying to find people that can work together that are going after the same audience.
Cool.
But this is a really cool local company, you guys. Like, they've been here, family business for 45 years.
Neat.
And they make these beautiful chairs right here in Calgary. So it's been a really cool project to go in on. They sell all over the world. So they actually have some dealers down in the US. So I'm working on some plans with them on some marketing campaigns down in Salt Lake City. So that's been kind of fun. Yeah, you can see like nice polished video, like nice. We use this for everything. we use it all over the place, but
and this was posted as an IGTV, I think.
Yeah, I think so. They don't do a lot of raw stuff.
Yeah.
On the gaming side, so it's the same company, but they have two kind of companies, Lifeform Chairs and LF Gaming. The gaming chairs, it's a struggle because you know, it's all influencers and affiliate programs. So I've been diving deep into that whole world and vetting gamers, which is very interesting world. If any of you have touched on that, it's mind-boggling with these. There's one girl I was vetting to see if she would be a good fit to kind of give a chair and be an affiliate. And all she did was like go like click on her video. She just like all day long, and she had like tens of thousands of followers, and I'm like, I just don't understand.
Oh, that's interesting stuff. Wow.
I come from a world that content is king, but it's not the world on social media. So I'm having a hard time adjusting to some of these influencers or content creators that I just don't understand where the draw is.
Right.
Because I even have some friends that have become you know, like mom blogger influencers who have amazing content. And I don't know why they don't have 50,000 followers when, you know, someone is just sharing photos of their family and they're not even a celebrity, and they have like, it's mind boggling to me. I'm still wrapping my head around social media.
It's a tough one because there's not a lot of rhyme or reason to certain people and their follower bases, but they resonate with someone, and they either got on that platform at the right time, or they've bought their way there, or you never know. But
and you said it last week, you know, if you're on and just sharing stuff, that's what's getting engagement. You just need to be there all the time. Like, you know, not, you know, for some of these clients, we're only doing like 3 posts a week, and it's just not enough. Like, we need to do more.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then I'm starting a whole new business. So we can talk about that another time.
Okay.
My own thing.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Oh man. Jake, how are you doing?
I'm well, thanks. Yeah. Busy with work. We're trying to launch things a different way. So just so you know, I'm on contract to be in charge of marketing and advertising for Grants International. We get people grants and refunds and tax credits from the government. Things are changing. So instead of us applying for people, I'm now working on a landing page and a series of ads so that we can sell our knowledge. So people can apply on their own. So we want to put a checklist or an ebook together and sell that, and then let people do it on their own. So I'm going to run an ad that'll highlight our Refunds Made Easy book. or checklist. We haven't written it yet. That's a project this summer. And but I'm going to run ads kind of now as a bit of a smoke test, it's called, just to see how many people will click on it and how many people will give their name and email to show that they're interested in purchasing the book when it's ready. I don't know what we're going to sell it for. We'll test that too, either maybe $49 or $99. $99 is the most we can sell it for. There's government regulations around that. And so that's what I'm working on right now. And so instead of us doing it, we want to give it to people to do. And then we will run a retargeting campaign and an email, a sequence of emails afterwards to people who buy it to sell our service to them as well. Because not everyone's going to want to do it themselves. And they may want to hire Grants as the expert to do it afterwards for them.
Totally. Could you find, no, that's awesome. Thanks, Jake. Could you find a, you know how you've got like the done for you, DFY, then there's the done with you, DWY, and then there's the DIY, but the done with you in the middle, if you guys are shifting from done for you to that coaching and consulting, I've always said that, like, while it's really helpful to receive that mileage log tracking tool from my accountant that I am never going to use, if they held my feet to the fire and made me meet them on a Zoom, some kind of call or in-person session every 2 months or whatever, tax prep that was actually like get you to the finish line, don't just give you more tools and resources, how helpful that would be, you know, as we all collect ebooks, resources. For me, they've become folders on my computer that make me feel like I might as well label them failure folders, because I feel like I just download that stuff and I never get to it. And then I feel further behind. It's such a painful existence.
Yeah, well, I think if they follow up to maybe keep you motivated or offer their service to do it for you, that's kind of what we're counting on.
Yeah, or doing it with you, like, exactly. But if yeah, I mean, you're so good with follow-ups and, you know, just support as it is. I can't imagine you wouldn't do this no matter what. But I just love those solutions where you're empowered as the consumer to take it into your own hands, you know, to learn. But like I'm told all the time, well, where's your in-person stuff? Because I just don't do things on my own very well. And I get it, you know, the completion rates are so much higher when you've got something that's dripped out on a regular basis, or there is a time box to it. Or what do you guys think? How do you best work with things like that? Like if you're applying for a grant, for example, it's one of those easy things to push, unless of course there's a deadline, then that's got some fire under it. But
well, even maybe similar to what you're doing, Kelly, where you have like group batches of walking people through together would be more time consuming.
Yeah.
Or not as time consuming. Oh my God.
Having your like accountability team, right? We all need accountability today, and we need a sense of urgency because there are so many things. So if that hasn't made it to the top of my pile, it's because I don't have those. I don't have an accountability person, or there's no sense of urgency. So you kind of have to create one or both of those two things somehow.
Totally.
That's a good idea to add to it as well. Sort of a weekly, just like this, like a weekly coffee chat for people who are subscribed to the emails or purchase the book, just to see check in how they're doing. Right? Yeah.
Or even just be available. I know with my kids' online schooling, which was a dream. This is why I've been away for a while. They would be online at a certain time, and whether people came on or not, they were invited to go into a room and ask questions. But just to know that you're there, you know, you could be working on something else and just have it on. If no one shows, that's fine. But
yeah. And what a nice way too to cut back on your customer service calls and emails, just to say, I'm online this time every week, or our support specialists are, log in then, and you can really funnel all of those together. Yeah.
Also, if you're doing this more so on social media, you could use like the stories where it's like, this day I'm going to do a live Q&A, log in to wherever it is. So at this day, this time, you're doing a live Q&A. So anyone who actually has important questions or just needs to keep up with it, they're going to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I think it's like the things that we resonate with the most are those that make us feel successful. Like I've just always been so fascinated by our best repeat customers, and recurring revenue streams come from the people that have found most success in the program, or that Dale's customers who are going to have the greatest time and that car is going to be a huge success for them are going to come back around again. But it's so fascinating that when someone fails at the service you're providing, even if it's not your fault, you gave them everything they needed, all those tools and resources. But if they don't succeed it, or they don't open the emails, or in my case, they don't get to the course because they have lifetime access, they kind of hold it against us. And I get it, because there's no one else to take your frustration out on. I do the same thing. Like, oh, that program sucked. I didn't even get to it. What a waste of money, even if I failed at doing it. So I think it's in our best interest to bake in those checkpoints or success. And it's not just follow-up emails. I've learned over the years, like you and I, we all know you join a 30-day cleanse program, juicing program, write every day program. And if I miss out on those first emails, then I have 7 in a row and I'm like, oh my God, stop. You know, it's just, so my metric personally is like, can I take on this program or this ebook or this training series right now? Do I have the bandwidth? Otherwise I will be the failure. And then I'll, you know, not only waste money, but it's more about those feelings of like, again, you lose confidence. It's demoralizing because we have so many of them in our inboxes today.
If you guys haven't heard me talk about my Garmin previously, you're missing out because I talk about it a lot. But
I even got myself one.
I know everyone in my community now has them, including my children. And my children they're wizards. They're so much better at managing and setting things up on them than I am. And so they took it upon themselves to set up a group challenge a week ago for steps. And it's so funny. I mean, I try and get outside most days, but you guys, I was not going to let my kids beat me, because my watch kept telling me where they were at and where I was at in the competition, the challenge. And I honestly, like, I logged more steps last week than I have in my entire Garmin life, because I didn't want my children to beat me, because they set up essentially an accountability mechanism into my watch for me. So it is amazing how when you have those flags, those reminders, especially if it's human, especially if you know who they are, you feel bound to them, they work.
Yeah.
So we should remember that with our marketing, because there are opportunities to create that. And I don't care if you're selling a product or a service, but creating that environment where people feel like they are accountable to somebody else in that group, that business unit, that country, even if they've never met them before. It's funny. On the same thread, I belong to a Facebook group called, I think it's like Ultra Trail Running or something, and I've never ran an ultra trail run in my entire life. But I follow the posts every day, and somebody put something out there, and it was like, there are no better cheerleaders than the ones you've never met before. Like, and it's so true, right? We really want to root for people doing something good, or finishing that course, or buying that first car, whatever it is. We really want to high five people, right? I think it's in our nature to actually wish goodwill to people. So being able to weave that into what we're already doing, what great marketing.
Like building milestone markers, right? So, you know, milestone 1, filled out Form A, milestone 2,
right?
B, and so on.
Yeah, you're 20% of the way there.
I love that. Or
it's like you're filling out surveys and you can see how much longer you have to go.
Yes,
which could be a double-edged sword.
Yeah, that's true. But in membership programs, they call it the success path. Like, you better be able to point A to point B or Z where that person's going. Otherwise, it's this nebulous membership that, like you said earlier, Lisa, they're like, thanks, I got this now, I can do it myself. But if there's always the promise of something more, or the journey of the transformation they're going to take, followed by the next one, then it keeps them sticking around. But and as much as I think like cheerleaders, accountability partners, milestone markers, those are so awesome. It doesn't matter what our business is. But I will say that if any of us are in the realm of like digital products, DIY or done with you versus done for you client work, the moment you try to package up something, which so many of us are doing now, digital or consulting services, coaching services, ongoing memberships, that I think it's really tough, because you want to offer that success or that support to people, but now you're offering a product that probably costs $29 because it's an ebook or a spreadsheet or a success program, or maybe it's $299, whatever, $299. But you're no longer selling someone a $2,000 service offering where they're going to have you do it for them. So what I struggle with, to be frank, is that suddenly I'm selling $29 courses and programs, and 4 out of 20 of those people want direct access and lots of time. And so the more you can have groupthink and accountability partners come in, like Jen, what you're saying, those strangers who are at the exact same place you are, amazing. Right?
Because offload that responsibility to the people that are actually going through the journey at the time.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're banking on volume with any sort of digital business today, right? We are offering our products, our services for less, while banking on, you know, more transactions.
Yeah. And as soon as you're selling small retail or small priced items, and you're counting on volume and frequency versus, you know, it's like going from having 10 clients I could do really well financially, just have those 10 people to service, and then one would beget another. And I would always have some kind of like revolving door, but it worked. And then suddenly, oh my God, I'm shifting to selling a product online to strangers, and now I need 1,000 clients in a quarter, and selling them, again, smaller price point, still wanting a lot of support. So how do you scale that? And I think working those systems into any business model right from the get-go, if you're planning on doing any kind of DIY, is so important, because otherwise they'll feel like they're failing. They're not getting enough of you. And trust me, people don't understand what your time is worth or what it's going to take for you to support them one-on-one after they've bought that $29 item or that free download. You're like, really? Come on. You know, but it's a tough model for that reason, I find.
Yeah, to scale up and get enough sales for the lower price product. Yeah.
And then still be able to offer support to those people.
When there's that many more.
Yeah.
I think that's the hard double-edged sword of shifting from like traditional payment structures to how things are going now, is because in your mind, you're still so stuck on that, like, but it's only $30. What if I only sell one, versus if I had one client for the 3,000, I was good for the month, and I'm not good on $30, right? So it's really hard shifting the brain that way and being okay with it.
Yeah. And having your clients understand that shift too.
Yeah,
totally. I think honestly, and what we tell people even with our marketplace is, you know, don't make us your full hustle just yet. Like, keep your day job and just dabble your toes in, because it takes a while to build up volume, because in order to build up volume, we have to build up some trust, and trust isn't earned in the digital world any faster than it is in the real world, right? It still takes multiple transactions. We still want to know, well, what did that other person say about you? Like, I still want to know what other people think of you too. So those things take time, and we're lying to ourselves to think that you can build a really successful business online overnight. It's no different. It takes every bit as much, you know, sweat and grit as the traditional models did.
Yeah, I think there's I mean, that was the biggest frustration with like lockdown number 1, where everyone's like, well, just take everything online and then you can still make a business. Like, do you have any idea how long it's taken someone to be able to like survive with just an online business? It's a 5-10 year process. It's not overnight.
You're right. It's so true. I think that this kind of circles back to what we talked about at the very beginning, where we were, you know, talking about understanding what your client needs. And if you're going to package anything up or offer, even if you're not packaging up a repeat service, but I learned this in the home building industry when for a while I worked as the marketer for a new 2 brothers that had a green modular home building business. And the idea was that they cost less, they were made within 6 weeks, there was less waste, they're environmentally friendly, and we literally made them in a factory. And the idea, not a factory, but it was a big industrial kind of building in Southeast Calgary. But what we never achieved out of those desperate early years was economy of scale and repetition, because every time a custom order came to us from somebody who wanted a cool, modular, eco-friendly barn or a school or a family services center, we jumped as high as they wanted us to. So even when you're servicing people with something that technically should roll off the assembly line and then you're good, you can't, because customization is inevitable. But there's a hybrid in there somewhere. And this is where I feel like for contractors who are offering one real set of skills, whether that's video editing or social publishing or graphic design on a monthly or quarterly basis, or photography packages, if you can still customize, of course, for that client, make them feel like they're getting your golden ideas and creativity, but you've really got your process and your technology and your deliverables nailed, well, then you're going to achieve both the customization and client servicing. And you don't have 100, but let's say it's that hybrid model of sort of package replicable, but also mid volume, you know? There's touch points with them. It's still one-to-one, but you're doing the same kind of offering and you're doing it unapologetically. Nobody needs to know that this is your MO, that you do 50 photos a month like that. And you set people up so that one person is your shoot every week or every day and whatever. You're able to kind of service everybody in a similar way versus custom job every which way.
Agree.
And we don't have to do everything. And I think as entrepreneurs and like you guys touched on the hacks of Canva and stuff. And I love what Lisa said about, you know, maybe that's one of your packages is you customize, and maybe I missed that part, but you know, as starting a new business, like I don't want to just have a template that all the moms are using on their blogs or whatever. Like I want something that's mine, right? So just kind of being creative, but also we don't all need to know everything, and that's okay because there's a lot to know now. And Jennifer is saying, like, you know, 10 years ago we had a brochure and a TV ad and a radio ad and a newspaper ad, and now it's like there's so much to do. There's so much to do. So
yeah,
nice to know where to go.
I am literally like toasting myself every night because I know that Haley is my new godsend who's coming in. She's going to say, I need you to film this and this and this. And I can do that. I can do that part on my own with my selfie stick and then send it to her to polish and publish and not be the roadblock. And that just happens to be my roadblock, is the final steps or whatever. So yeah, I guess it's like finding those relationships. And as the contractor or the employee or whatever, just to say, yeah, where are you getting hung up here? And how can I get you to the finish line in this new world?
I have a totally unrelated question, but you guys touched on HD or the Instagram TV stuff so many times. So you used to be able to upload them through Facebook Business. I can't anymore. So what is happening? Like I can't put it in there.
So now they want you to use Creator Studio. Have you seen
that's what I was using.
So if you're in there, if anyone else has any other better advice, feel free to chime in. But to my knowledge, you can, in Creator Studio is the only place I've been able yet to find where you can upload an IGTV video and even schedule it if you want to. So shooting it in advance, because it's IGTV, it's not Instagram Live. Or if you do an Instagram Live, you save it after to your phone, and then you can upload it here. But I've never tried to even look for Creator Studio on mobile. I just use it on desktop and literally have only been using it to schedule IGTVs, but you can schedule everything through here now. Stories, every kind of Instagram post you want. Okay. And then it's also really great because you have your insights, you have your, hang on a minute. Do you have inbox here? No, you're still heading back over to
business.
Yeah, business manager. Now business suite, they call it. Yeah.
Then I'm curious, because they had Creator Studio and then they forced you over to the business manager, and then have they forced you back to Creator Studio? Because
I think Creator Studio is new. Yeah, I think it was like you had your pages and they forced you to then, or wanted you to start using Business Manager to manage your pages out of and your people and your ad accounts. And then they created Creator Studio. So they finally had a decent publishing suite. So that we weren't all using third-party tools, and that the insights could be baked in there as well, but that you're still using Business Suite for your now most insights if you want, and then Inbox and ads and all those bigger kind of more robust tools, I believe.
Thank you. I wish they would just have it all in one, but thank you.
Seriously. I guess
they'll change next week.
Yeah.
Hang tight.
Yeah. Business Suite is already so giant and overwhelming though, that like, I think we get lost in that pretty easily. And when you start looking into Creator Studio to go live on Facebook, for example, it's its whole other world of like TV studio looking thing, you know? So I don't know. Yeah. But I wish you could do every platform from one place for free.
Too.
No kidding.
Anyway.
Anyone who wants to build an app, there you go, or a website. That's your ticket.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you.
Any final thoughts from anybody?
More questions?
Yeah.
No, thanks. And sorry to hop on late. I just find it really inspiring at the end of this COVID to hop onto these. So thanks for being here, because I'm feeling very community. I just want people. I'm really wanting people. So you guys are filling my bucket. So thank you.
Thank you for being here. I think we all feel the same.
We do. We were saying that at the start as well, but join anytime. No apologies. It's just so nice to see your faces, and I look forward to this like crazy. So thanks.
Well, I missed collaborating. I had some colleagues back at Redpoint that we would just like spitball ideas and campaigns and new ways to do things and partner clients together, and like I really miss that. So this is so awesome. Even just to hear what other people are doing, it really spins ideas for myself or clients. So I really, really appreciate it. I really do, guys.
Thank you. Well, thanks for sharing with us what you're up to, and I can't wait to hear the next part. Next week you'll
tell you another time.
Cool.
Well, have a great weekend, everyone.
Guys.
Well, hopefully see you next Friday.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
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 Bye.